In this video, I'll be showing you how to clean your RC-505. I'll be showing the process on my Mark II. However, the steps for disassembling the Mark I are fairly similar. As a disclaimer, I am not responsible if you break your machine or void your device's warranty. I recommend trying to get your device fixed under warranty first. If you want to clean your 505 yourself, do it at your own risk. We are dealing with PCB boards, so make sure to take the right safety precautions, which are the following. Be grounded. You can use an anti-static bracelet that is connected to a ground point. Alternatively, you can touch something metallic such as your doorknob to temporarily discharge any built-up static. Also, make sure to work in the correct environment, which means no liquids nearby, to avoid accidental spills. And make sure to work on a flat surface or table. You don't want to damage any of the components. The tools you will need to disassemble and clean your loop station are the following: 99% isopropyl alcohol, 91% at the least, cotton swabs, which I recommend, a Phillips head screwdriver, pliers, and optionally, a flathead screwdriver or something to help give you leverage when removing the track faders. Oh, and by the way, I have tutorials for my loop station tracks, as well as an upcoming exclusive masterclass for audio and music, and you can access by becoming a channel member for only $4.99 a month, so make sure to join! Anyways, to get started, shut down the device and unplug the power adapter. You'll then want to remove all of the external faders and knobs. This is where you can use your flathead screwdriver to help remove the faders. Once all of your knobs are removed, you'll need to remove the bolts underneath them. This is where you will use your pliers, although you may be able to use your fingers. When we put them back later, I do recommend using your pliers to retighten them. Once everything is removed from the front, turn your faders down and face your device upside down. There are 12 screws to remove on the back. This is where you will use your Phillips head screwdriver. If you're having a hard time removing any of the screws, feel free to put your hand on one of the holes, flip the machine, and shake the screw out. Once the screws are removed, you can remove the plastic cover. It's probably scary to look at this mess, but it's actually fairly simple, and I will break it down. This is where you'll want to be grounded or discharged of static. You'll want to recognize the 4 different sections: the uppermost board, the microphone ports on the top right, the board in the middle, and the biggest board underneath all of them, all of which have screws that need to be removed. But first, you need to start with the ports in the back of the device. I'll be starting with the microphone ports. There's 5 screws here. Keep note of how each screw looks, as some of them need to be put back in the same spot. Make sure to keep them somewhere safe. The next 2 screws are holding down the uppermost board. They are a bit stubby and have a ring around them. The next 2 screws are holding down the MIDI ports. They have a textured feel that are slightly different from the rest. The final screw is holding down the USB port. To my knowledge, they are the same as the screws holding the uppermost board. To be safe, I will keep it somewhere separate. Now that all of these screws are removed, we can work on removing the screws inside of the device. Now that we are back here, I want you to notice how there are letters next to each screw. A letter P for the normal screws, and a letter W for the screws with a ring around them. First, we start with the middle board, with 8 visible W screws and 1 P screw. Once that's done, you can gently unseat and flip this board back to reveal more screws. After that, you will need to flip the first board back and flip 3 boards back together. The 3 boards that you need to move back are the 2 middle boards and the microphone ports at the top right, as they are all connected. Once the boards are moved out of the way, we will reveal 8 more P screws. When all of the screws are removed, you can flip all of the boards back to their original place. Just be sure not to align them inside of the ports. Now there should only be 2 more P-screws on the bottom of this board. And just like that, all of the internal screws are now removed. Now I will take the plastic cover and put it back on the device. Note that it won't fully close. This is okay and necessary. Use both hands to handle the back and front to flip the machine. From here, you should be able to easily remove the front plastic cover. When doing so, be warned, as the components inside may fall a little bit. Do your best to be gentle. If they do fall, they should likely be okay and not have suffered any damage. If the front plastic cover does not come off easily, you'll want to double check 2 things. 1, that the boards are not aligned inside of the holes for the ports, and 2, that all of the internal screws are removed. Once this cover is off, you may notice a mesh material covering some of the faders. You can leave these here for now. From here, you can see all of the silicone buttons. You can remove the buttons to reveal contacts underneath. This is what you will need to clean if your buttons are not responsive. I will be cleaning my effects buttons. Gently soak your cotton swab in isopropyl alcohol, just not too much. You'll need to clean the darker spots here, which are the contacts. Gently swipe up and down and try not to mess with the LED in the middle of the contact. You should notice residue on your cotton swab. This is what you want. I went ahead and cleaned my contacts until there was no more residue. After you've cleaned your contacts fully, you should give a minimum of 30 minutes for your device to fully dry. You may want to clean your silicone buttons as well. This has helped greatly in my experience. I have followed steps from this video in which you will swipe the silicone buttons on a piece of paper to remove some residue. Just be gentle as you don't want to tear any of the silicone buttons. Once everything is fully dry, we can reassemble the device. First, you want to put back this mesh material on the front cover. They are held in place by these 4 notches. After that, there's 2 ways to put this front cover back. You can align the silicone buttons on the contacts as close as possible, try to further align them with your flathead screwdriver, and put the front cover back. However, I prefer the following. Place the silicone buttons in the front cover upside down. Make sure they are in the correct position. Keep in mind, since the front cover is upside down, the buttons will be placed in reverse order. Be careful with this next part. You may want to hold the front cover on your lap. Take the back cover holding the PCB boards and flip it over so that you are holding the boards. Try to hold the boards around the edges. Take the back plastic cover off and now do your best to align the track faders with the holes. This may be tricky, but it will fit. Once done, set the device back down. This part should look familiar, as now we are going to put back the internal screws. Side note, if your USB board came off like mine, it can easily be put back by aligning the notches. It's very similar to installing RAM on a computer. You can start with the 8 P-screws on the bottom board underneath all of the other boards. Once again, you'll need to gently flip back the other boards and the XLR ports. Be sure not to screw in these too tight. Once the 8 screws are put back, you can flip the other boards back. You'll want to align the middle board with the port holes on the back and seat them correctly. Flip back the uppermost board and put back the 2 W screws that would be covered up. Now you can flip back the board. Make sure to also align it with the port holes on the back. Now, you should be able to put back all of the other screws, which should be visible and not covered by anything. Once that's done, you need to put back the screws by the ports on the back of the device. All of the internals should now be intact. Now, you must put back the 12 screws for this back cover. The loop station should now be held together. Next, you want to put back the bolts for each knob and tighten them slightly with pliers. After that, you can finally put all of the plastic faders and knobs, and you should be done. To be safe, you'll want to power on your device and test every button to make sure they work. If your buttons happen to still not work, there may be other issues causing your device to be faulty. And even in the case where you've accidentally caused damage, don't worry, mistakes can happen. If you're not sure what to do, this is where you'll want to contact Boss's repair services to ensure full functionality in your device. Otherwise, congratulations, you have fully cleaned your loop station. That's about it, thanks for watching.